Thanks for the continued support. Don't forget to like and subscribe and watch the content. We're dropping more episodes more frequently now, so there'll be way more content coming down the road more frequently. So be on the lookout for the new content. So I'll first start off with the Ice Cube news, entertainment news from Ice Cube, rather, because he does work on films and he is still a hip hop artist at the same time as well. But as far as entertainment news, he was on Cam Newton's Funky Friday podcast, and they discussed the Friday series movies that's been dormant for some time. Ice Cube openly discussed his frustrations with the process of trying to get the fourth installment of the Friday series in production or just get the script approved. And he talked about that with Cam Newton. He talked about how the different reasonings for why the studios are not approving the script. So I know most people will say, well, he has enough money. Why don't he just film the movie himself or fund it himself? It's certain obligations that he has because when he did the first Friday, he was unable to, he didn't have that kind of funding back then. So I think he went through a studio. He didn't have Cube Vision back then, which is his studio or his film company. So he was contractually obligated to go through the studio. So that's the problem he's having now. But he kind of gave us insight into the script that was rejected, and he's still in the process of now trying to get it approved still. And he also, voiced his frustrations of not being able to get the movie approved before he was, before John Witherspoon, who played his dad in the movie, passed away, and he wanted to do it before then, but he was unfortunately unable to do so. But the script that he said that got shot down was, he said, him and Day Day, which is Mike Epps' character, they owned a dispensary, and there was a flash mob that came in and they beat up one of the guys and they got sentenced to jail. But when they were in jail, they had to avoid previous villains from the previous episodes. So Debo from the first movie, who passed away, rest in peace to Tony Lister, the Joker brothers from the second movie, and then of course Terry Crews, who was Damon in the third film. So the studio turned that script down because they didn't think it would be a good idea to have filmed the movie from a correctional facility, because the movie is based upon hangout culture, their daily adventures on the street. So in a jail, they will pretty much be limited, to make the movie realistic, they'll be kind of limited. Sorry, excuse my voice. So Ice Cube kind of said, he felt like they didn't know what they were talking about, because he said that with the success of shows like Orange is the New Black and shows like, I've never heard of this show, but Let's Go to Prison. But he didn't cite also Kai Cenat did a live stream for a couple of days, I believe, from a correctional facility, and it worked for him. But just to give some pushback on Ice Cube to play both sides, I don't think the show would have been as funny as the main characters being on the street, because, like I said, that film is geared upon them hanging out and them being in a facility. I do agree with the studio in that aspects, but he has put out several scripts that he said he's got, that he got dismissed on, that were turned down. He didn't go into those scripts, but I think one script before he said something about they was at the dad's funeral who died in real life, and it starts from there. But I don't think he went to any kind of vivid details. But I think let me go into another reason. He talked about the loss of the characters, which I talked about too. Tony Lister, who played Debo, the villain from the first movie. Tony Lister, so John Witherspoon, who played his father in all three movies. And then also AJ Johnson, who played the homeless character in the first Friday movie. Those characters passing away. There's been a lot of other characters too, but they were minor characters who passed away. My voice is bad this morning. Who passed away, but they didn't. But it wasn't geared around them, so it wouldn't affect the movie as much. But we would like to see those characters, or would like to have seen those characters. But it's he got a lot of pushback from the theaters, and it seemed like they just didn't want to put the movie out. And his thing was, with this recent success of correctional movies, give me a chance. And plus, he has a track record of successful movies that he either starred in, produced, directed, things like that. So he felt like he should have been able to been given an opportunity without having to compromise his art. And a lot of times when you have to go through other people who are funding these projects or who have ownership over these projects, you have to compromise your art to what they want it to be. You might come up with the original idea. They might like the idea, but they're like, hey, hey, did you think about putting this character in a dress? Which, so many African American actors are starting to, go against nowadays because it seems like they always want to put, a man in a dress and things like that. Which, like I said, they own the thing, so they're going to put out their own fillers and their own suggestions and their own corrections and their own ways they see things. Even though they don't have the mind, but they do have the funding and they have the ownership, which you can change a lot of things without having creativity, which is kind of sad to see. Erica Badu, Erica Badu kind of talked about this she talked about this on a stand-up poetry set that she did. So she talked about how labels want to make her compromise her art because she was very neo-soul. She was very eclectic, very sensual, and some things might go over people's heads. So sometimes they want you to dumb things down, or they want you to change things to fit to society. But your original goal might not be that. You come in sometimes as a purist and, not thinking about profit. You're thinking about getting your art out there and getting your message. But a lot of times it's all about the profit, and we can understand it's a business, right? But at the same time, if someone has a track record of just being successful, I think you should just give them the benefit of the doubt sometimes and see them, at least put out some fillers out there, film it, send it to some people, get some ideas out there. But just to shoot a script idea down without any research or without any due diligence is a disservice to that artist. And speaking from an ownership perspective, they do it all the time, right? In other genres and things like that. So sports, they do it a lot of times. You'll see like a Patrick Mahomes playing basketball and they'll tell him, oh, we saw you playing basketball. That's nice, but we have a contract. We have a lot of money geared into you. You're our asset. You're our property. You can't play basketball anymore. Or in football or something like that, they'll tell them, hey, you can't go to this certain place at this certain time, which is good advice, but you have to compromise a lot when you don't have ownership and when you don't have control of your situation. And this is a prime example of that. And that's why a lot of people are preaching ownership now, because you don't have to, you set your own rules and you don't have to compromise your art. And that's the most important thing, compromising your art. When you first start off, you can pretty much say how you want. Then you have to kind of change it up. For example, like a Cam Newton, whose show he was on, he's with ESPN now. He can't say what he wants to say, opposed to his podcast where he owned and had complete control over. He couldn't be canceled, so to speak. In this culture, they want to cancel, CANCELU, but instead of cancel you, COUNSELU. So a lot of times people just don't know. This comes from inexperience. It comes from just a lack of knowledge. And sometimes we just need to be able to talk to those people and fix that. But I'm getting off on a tangent. But it's all about, like I said, ownership. And Ice Cube coming out with the first original Friday, he put out the idea out there and they profited off of his idea, and now they want him to change his creativity as if he wasn't the original creator. A lot of times, like I said, with these royalties and things like that, it gets very sticky. It gets very sticky as far as you being able to create your own destiny. They control that, even though that you had the idea and you put the money in their pockets. They might have helped you fund it initially, but once you got that funding, they still hold control of it, and you are unable to write your own ticket, so to speak. So good luck to Ice Cube trying to get control of that situation and for him to be able to just succeed and able to continue that series or even make a spinoff, because most of those characters are getting older. So, but tell me what your thoughts about the whole Friday series and having ownership and control of your own situations.